Most history buffs are not attracted to the actual period of the Middle Ages, but to an idealized picture of that time. But today, we will leave the brave knights with their beautiful ladies aside. Girls who dream of being a princess should know that most castles of the early Middle Ages did not have separate bedrooms. Even for nobles, the room was considered private only nominally. There were servants, relatives, children, and servants a full house. Box beds and canopies were popular not only because of the cold, but also because of the lack of privacy, at least some privacy. For the less noble vassals, the situation was even more comical. They had to sleep in the common room on straw mats by the fireplace. It was impossible to imagine separate bedrooms in those days. People ate, worked, slept, and entertained in the same room. Fashion is a capricious thing. While nowadays girls prefer thick hair and lush eyelashes, in the Middle Ages they were considered a flaw. Uncovered head a symbol of depravity. Therefore, leaving the house, the fair sex always wore a headdress. To keep the hair from falling out from under the cap, ladies shaved off all the excess. The temporal part, forehead, eyebrows, and even eyelashes were under the scope. Surprisingly, the birth of twins in the Middle Ages might have been considered something out of the ordinary. Nowadays, twins are a joy, but in those days, it's all about specific ideas about the origins of life. Some medieval sages believed, one act of conception, one child, not otherwise. If two children were born at once, the wife was automatically suspected of infidelity. Where did the second baby come from? Particularly pessimistic husbands could even decide that their beloved had been blessed, not with the man, but with the demon. And then where is the child, and where is the spawn of evil power? Often it was necessary to resort to extreme measures. The Black Death in the 14th century mowed down a huge part of the population of Europe. People fought it as best they could, praying, hiding, being garlic on themselves. And in 1439, the English monarch Henry VI decided to introduce a ban on kissing. The innovation caused controversy and led to discontent, because kissing at that time was one of the main ways of greeting. The commoners thought the young king's actions made no sense at all. Medieval literature rarely mentions menstruation. Nevertheless, the medical historian Anne van Arsdale makes several recommendations. The most baffling and disconcerting was the following recipe. Take some honey, wet wool, and nettles. The resulting mixture should be rubbed on the causative places. It is impossible to imagine how the girl who decided to use the clever advice felt. Instead of pads, girls used linen rags and soft moss. A woman in these days had to stay at home, because according to the learned men she could do irreparable harm to society, burn crops, cover iron objects with rust, spread rabies among animals, destroy children and bees. There is a popular myth online that people in the Middle Ages were almost never sober because of the lack of centralized water supply and lack of skills in boiling water. But the reason was different. Firstly, wells had been functioning for a long time. Secondly, the Middle Ages people simply liked to drink strong drinks. Even children were sometimes given a little beer of a small strength. And the medieval doctor Michel Savonarola recommended giving diluted wine to youngsters up to the age of 7. The newborn future King Louis XIII was given wine so that he, having tasted it, spread his lungs and screamed, as befits a monarch. Nowadays, when a baby's first teeth begin to erupt, parents usually massage the gums or use special cooling gels to relieve anxiety. In the Middle Ages, however, a very different remedy was offered. The same Dr. Michel Savonarola, for example, strongly advised giving children to chew the gray matter of a rabbit. If rabbit meat was not available, dog's milk or goose fat could be used. The healer Trota of Salerno offered a more harmless option, honey on the palate, to soothe the baby. However, nothing was known about a possible allergic reaction to pollen at that time. The Dr. Bartholomeus Mettlinger advised young mothers not to feed their infants for the first 2 weeks, fearing that their milk might be poisonous. It is better to give the baby to an experienced nurse, she knows how to do it. Metlinger put forward some interesting criteria for the ideal candidate: not too young, not too old, and 6 weeks or more of nursing experience. Healthy, dark-skinned, with a large neck. If for some reason the young mother had to feed on her own, the doctor advised to first give the baby a drop of honey to neutralize the harmful milk, or better yet, to taste the first few drops of milk from a she-wolf. If you liked the video, then don't forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. There will be a lot of interesting, shocking, and exciting things to come.